Yes, we can. I'm just pushing a Dilbert cartoon right now. Typical human resources person. Catbert.
There you
go. He had another one, a cartoon before this one, day before, I think. And he had it's Zoom. Let's see, what did he say? He said, you know, the lady was asking him, what's with the rolling credits at the end of your Zoom meeting? And he says, that's the only way I get people to leave.
You know, I saw one years ago that was with what's Dogbert? Is that Dogbert, the consultant? And he was announcing at a meeting that the new computer system had been completely set up and was ready to go. So if they turn off the old system, then he'll turn off the new system and we'll be up and running. And someone said, is that really a good idea? And Gilbert said, oh yeah, good point. And he ran out of the room, Dogbert did. And then he came back a few minutes later and he says, yeah, everything's fine. I get paid no matter what happens.
Yeah, I'm here for the money.
I like that one where Wally built himself a cubicle out of those government documents, you know, just stacking them all up.
Now that would be the FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulations.
No, it was what's the, not ISO, there's a certain name for, you know, it has a number, you know, a 3-digit and then a number for the government regulation. You know, they're it's basically like system engineering stuff. So, but anyway, yeah, it was just, you know, you said this is the best use for these documents.
Well, I want to introduce Charlotte up there at the top, I think, for at least for me. And Charlotte Tyler, she's one of our planetarium presenters at the Museum of Natural History.
Okay.
Which has been closed down. And so she's joining us. She used to see her at the Matrix bar when the LCO would put on presentations at the Matrix. And
they're still putting out emails.
Say that again, Mike.
They're still putting out emails.
Who? Oh, LGO.
LCO. Well, welcome, Charlotte.
Let's see. I guess. Well, I guess Dick Beam will not be here. Bob Richards, I don't think was going to be here.
Yeah.
I don't know if Gary Peterson will show up. Bob
no,
said.
I don't think so. I don't think.
Bob said Rob Matson should be here. Tim Crawford might join us. I don't know.
And Chuck might.
Chuck McPartland, yeah, that's right.
You know, this time I only had to put in the meeting ID, not the password.
Yeah, I did turn it off on the other one too. Hopefully next time we don't need that password.
Okay.
For some reason it got on.
Let's
see, astronomy. Telescope.
I never have to do the password. I just click the link and it opens.
Yeah.
Is Hank joining in or no?
I think he will.
I'm wondering maybe because it's a clear night and it's cold, but maybe he's out with a scope or something.
He may blow us off.
Well, that always takes priority, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, that was last night and it was freezing.
It was 36 degrees here by my thermometer of effective temperature or whatever.
Oh, it is? It's supposed to be 38 tonight in Goleta.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's warm.
I guess it's all relative, huh?
Yes. A few degrees here, a few degrees there.
Hey Bob, do you want to show us your what was your head on tap for us from? You weren't here last time, right?
Yeah, I wasn't here last two times. In case Hank comes on, I'll wait for the PixInsight thing because we're going to show about processing gradients.
Right.
But I'll show you.
Was it M78 or was it?
Yeah, I've got two. I got M78 and I've got NGC 3628, which you get a certificate to McDonald's if you can identify, because it's the hamburger galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see if I can do this here. Always hard to find it.
Hank is getting admitted. Let me see. Oh, yeah, there he goes.
So actually, yeah,
Looks like a luminance. It's not a finished one, is it?
No, it's not. That's why I wanted to show you this one and then show you a process here.
Bob, where is the hamburger galaxy located?
So it is
Leo.
Yeah. And I basically had to wait till about 1:32 in the morning because I have a tree blocking me towards the southeast and everything. So that's when I started processing the images, is around between 2 and 5 a.m. And I just always am looking for something new, you know, that I can, you know, try with a camera and everything. This is with that ASI 533. And so what you do is you go, so here's this dynamic background extraction, and I've already set up this thing, and this is just, without going into much automated things of fixing the background. They have an automated one, this dynamic background extraction. It's kind of supposed to be better. And so you set up these sample areas here, which are defined in here, that are 100 pixels wide and 10 per row. And this one guy recommended eliminating them from the center and just do the periphery of it here. So I was trying this today, and it takes a while, because when you do it automated, it just fills up the whole thing. You have to delete the whole center, so that takes a long time. So I'm just kind of prepared to do. So
and I assume you pick those boxes so you avoid stars, right?
Right, you got to avoid stars. Know it's lining up. You see some of these are moved around. You don't want to put anything bright, you know. Actually, there's
that one has a bright star in it. Okay.
So I'll just move that one. And this, as you see that, it shows you over here, magnified, what you're on. And actually, there are some stars, but they're pretty dim ones. So, you know, mostly you want to find something like that. Like this guy is like nothing.
Yeah.
But you don't want to put them over the center here. So anyway, you run this, and this is doing a division of the background. And I'm jumping a lot of steps here. What a stretch image. So none of these images are all linear, none are stretched. So it has this function here, screen transfer function, where you can stretch the image, and this is showing now what it's removing. And you know, you look at this, you go, yeah, that's what I want to remove. All that.
The icon says it's radioactive.
Right. That's how you know which icon to use. Yeah.
Okay.
And this isn't this, and there's a double radioactive one you can do. Maybe they do that so you can remember it. But so anyway, there's the background it's removing, and you throw that away when you're done. But now here's the one that it made, and again, it's linear. So if you stretch this, and this has its own internal thing of how it stretches it, you see what it turned it, you know, from and into. It turned it from there into here. And then they recommend that you close this one off. They recommend that you do another one of these. So again, I've got this saved. Only this time you do a subtraction, a division versus subtraction of the background. And again, you know what exactly that's doing. I mean, subtraction's kind of obvious. The division's a little bit harder.
You know the algorithm they're using?
No, I don't. But I mean, essentially what PixInsight is a whole collection of all of these functions.
This is in PixInsight.
Yeah, this is PixInsight. So I mean, here are the number of processes they have now, you know, that you can do, and then there are scripts that basically, and in fact, I was going to show you this other one. I wanted Hank to see it, because I wanted to send me a flat file, but I discovered this thing in the last week that's really interesting. These are the more automated ones here, but I'm not going to do that now. So anyway, I'm going to run this one with a subtraction now, and that will fix it a little bit more. And again, we'll just look just for the heck of it. We'll see what it's removing. And you see here, you know, some bands here of, you know, other noise in the background. Not noise so much, but just trying to even out the background. So now we're left with this. And something I discovered in the last week here, a way to handle this that's kind of nice, and this would be probably more at the end, but you bring up this histogram transformation, you reset this guy, and basically this just did an automatic stretch. And what you do is you grab this guy and you apply it to here, and then it's showing you, not so much the bands here, but actually we got, let's see, integration. Yeah, DBE, DBE1. I don't have the correct one on there. So now you said, okay, this is a zoomed in version of what this part of the spectrum is here. And what you can do with this, you turn on, this preview is kind of nice here too. So sorry, I'm going through this quickly, but this is doubly stretched. So you just have to undo that. So there's the image. And before you apply this permanently, because what this is going to do is turn it from a linear to a nonlinear image that's stretched, and there's limited what you can do the image after that. But what you can do with this is grab these guys. This is pretty nice. Really adjust the
background black. Yeah.
Yeah, the background to, like, wherever you like it.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to bring out more color. I got to get better at doing color on this, but I'll show you a little trick that I learned. So like that to me looks pretty nice. So what you do to, when you're done with this is you turn the preview off. So here's the original one, and you drag this and you apply it to it. And, oh no, that was still the preview, sorry. Close the preview, and we apply it to this guy, and then it applies it. Now you got that finished product there. And what I will do to this, it's a script that I found out about called autocolor. So okay, this is applying it already. I thought I was supposed to bring up the, no, that's not what I want. So anyway, I'm trying to get the color correct for this. This keeps popping out of the way.
Remember, folks, if you want to make any comments, the chat box could be opened up at the bottom, and you could put in any links that you might have that you want to pass on.
So, Bob,
or questions.
The image that you're showing right there, in my view, it looks like you've made too harsh of a change between the galaxy and the background. So the gradation, the faint stuff goes out, it fades off, and then all of a sudden it just stops. It goes off a cliff to black.
And I'm kind of rushing through this because I'm doing it, live here. So it's like to everybody's, preference of how you would do it.
But you've got a really nice dark background and uniform.
Yeah. So far it's like I'm not getting any, it's fairly flat field and everything here. I should tell you too, another thing I discovered, and take a while to explain it, but looking at the spec sheet of the Astro camera, the 533, there are graphs in there I hadn't really paid too much attention to, but one guy explained in this YouTube video, this guy calls himself the lazy astro geek or something like that. I think he's in Thailand. He's a British guy, and he maybe German, but he was explaining. There was a question I think Tim was asking last week or the week before. I watched the videos of the meetings you guys had, and he said, how do you figure out how to set the gain or the ISO and everything? And he gave a really good explanation by looking at the graphs of those, because there's a real drop in the graph of noise at a certain gain setting. And for this camera, it's around 100. So he was saying, if that's the case, he sets his gain to like 101. And then you adjust the time setting, the exposure setting. So I was looking at this and I picked 120 seconds. So I was doing 120 second frames. So I'm doing 30 per hour, and I did 3 hours. So I had 90 frames with this guy. And anyway, that's that guy. And then another one I had processed.
Oh, but it looks a bit green.
Oh, you missed, you mean the previous one?
Yeah, the previous one. After you did that automatic adjustment, the image just turned out green, kind of.
You're not talking about this one I'm showing, right?
No. Just the one that you just closed.
Okay, let's see if I can find that. I just closed it and I don't know where it went.
I mean, you don't have to. Now, yeah. Well, no, it's good. Although I think it's a bit bleak actually. The stars have no colors, but well.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the colors, but so
I think this is not what the last one you showed. I think you did something on that, and it turned the cloud green, kind of. So,
Every time you stretch, linear or non-linear, it desaturates the color. So you have to go back and resaturate the color a bit.
So an interesting thing, if there's too much green, there's another function. You go over to this SCNR and you just set this guy to green and you just go, okay, green should not be in astro images, and you just apply it to it and it pulls out, you know, to whatever degree you want, it pulls out the green. So that's kind of a nice thing. But again, I'm kind of rushing these, you know, of what I'm doing. But actually I could show with yours if you want, Henk, of how I was doing this.
Yeah, I would like to see the trend, the gradient removal. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for you to come on so I could
Yeah.
do that. So the steps that I did, and again, everybody may do these a little bit differently. So here's yours, and I do this auto stretch. So that brings out the image here, and you can see, obviously, you know, where images were stacked, you know, it's keeping the stars in this, you know, line here. So what I do as the first thing before I do any of that is this dynamic crop. Oh, it's already active. Okay, where is it? So let's see, I've got this. It's saying I've already got it open, but I must find it.
And by the way, the reason why it looks like that is that I took the first 3 or 5 frames off center, and I combined it, and then I recentered the target and just put them all together. So that's why you see the jump.
Okay. So this is saying it's open already. Let me close these again because it's underneath all this stuff here somewhere.
Yeah.
And with the earlier, I'll just say too, with the I did a master bias, a master dark, and a master flat for the NGC 3628. Here's an interesting thing. I was going to ask you, Henk, to send me a flat file. I just discovered this in the last week. So if I open, and I'll go back to what I was doing in a minute here. If I go to my files from last night, so here are flats, and this guy had this. This is kind of a very cool thing. You open just a single flat file. So you go, there's the flat file, and then they have this script that you can use on it. And let's see if I can find this guy. Oh no, it's image analysis. You can do this thing called flat contour plot. So now you make sure these match up. 120 flat 001. Leave these default, and then you render this. The flat file is pretty nondescript, but now you get this. And what's going on here is this is showing you, looking through your entire optical train of how you have things aligned. It's giving you this contour plot here. So, you know, in the previous one, when I did the M78, this was kind of off to the side, and I was thinking the camera was a little bit.
What kind of telescope are you using?
This is the one I'm always using, the Celestron 8-inch Newtonian.
Okay.
And
this is not just a diffraction pattern showing alignment. This is showing. It
looks like vignetting.
Yeah, it's showing the distribution of illumination across your focal plane. So
right.
A star in the middle of your focal plane will be 100% illuminated, and out toward the edge, it'll be like, it looks like about 40% or so illuminated.
Right, but basically what it's showing it is, you know, if you have, I don't know if like something out of collimation, I suspect, would show this, you know, off to the side, or.
It's got that information too.
It's what?
It's got that information too.
That's what I'm saying. It's showing you in your optical train if you got everything aligned, which you don't you don't have an easy way of knowing, and there's some other like piece of software outside of PixInsight you can do this, but you can just go bang, bang, open an image and do this really quickly with
Oh,
it.
no,
You can also just load. You can also just load the flat and just stretch it, and you'll see the same thing. You don't see the contour lines, but it's clear enough to see.
Well, here's the flat, and here it is stretched. So I don't see anything with that, but
You can sort of see it.
If
Well,
you have a Newtonian, you can just go out of focus and you can see the center dot centered or not in the main mirror, and that'll tell you your collimation.
okay, I
This is
got
telling you how well, this is telling you how well your scope is designed for full illumination of the field of view. If your center, if your secondary is too small, then you get a real high gradient like this. The scope that Henk just got is 12-inch. It has an 88-inch, which is about a 3 3/4 inch diagonal, which is very big. And his will show a much broader central region where it's uniformly and brightly illuminated. So that scope, his scope is optimized for astro imaging use with a wide field.
So Bob, is your scope an astrograph or is it a visual scope?
No, it's just a simple Newtonian. So in fact,
Okay.
with that camera that I have, the more I go, you saw that previous one, the NGC. Oh yeah, you were looking at it a little bit. I'm just kind of amazed that I can get that good a quality of images. You know, the thing.
Oh, you're
You know,
getting excellent images.
Yeah, very
yeah,
good.
I'm very happy. And I'm gonna get an astrograph eventually and everything. But I'm like, wow, I'm still
You
very
don't need to do it. This picture is your flat frame. This is going to undo the poor illumination out to the side.
right.
This
Now
is
the guy that I saw this from on YouTube, he had donuts. You have these dust donuts, and so it's like but again you're seeing like, okay, this is working. It's just so obviously this is the vignetting out on the sides, but to me it's more of an alignment. What's interesting is I did that M78 about 10 days ago, and then I just did this last night, and I thought I was going to see the same odd flat pattern, and I didn't. And I think maybe I just had the camera inserted a little bit oddly or something, when I did the previous image.
Yeah,
And
it could also be a collimation thing. I mean, your scope can be well collimated and still show something like this. It depends upon how the secondary is located.
And you don't show dust donuts because your optics are clean. Particularly your camera lens is clean and your filters.
Right. For now, it doesn't seem like it's that clean. I don't have anything really bad on it or anything.
Hold your hat on.
And Henk, I'll throw this in there, this is sort of a side topic, but I had this idea with the gradient you're getting in that corner, and you're talking about, is it a street light, is it this or that? And I thought a simple experiment is, take a series of light frames, then stop, then rotate it 90 degrees, the camera. You're doing a DSLR, right? And rotate it 90 degrees, take more, and if it moves, then that'll tell you it's in the camera. If it doesn't move,
right. You remember that I had this self-modified camera.
Yeah.
Right. So I tried all these kinds of things, and it will definitely tell you what's wrong with it. But yeah, you're right. No, I know how to do it with that. So let's go on. Let's go on with what you were trying to show, the gradient removal, because we're getting off on side topics.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Actually, why don't? Because I don't know where.
Hey, if you can take your time. I can take over because I would like to show something.
That's what I'm saying. Why don't you take over, and then because I'm looking for this one function. It's here somewhere and I can't find it, so I'll come back. So
if that's okay with you, Tom, because it's all
Oh yeah, sure.
Photography. All right. So let me just take. Let's see.
Henk, on my camera, there's a situation where the light was leaking through the viewfinder area.
Yeah.
And that could cause a light from an angle coming in.
Yeah, it was a surprise. I haven't looked at it yet, but thanks for the suggestions. I will take a look at it. All right, so can you can see my screen? This is a GIMP. I don't know if you're familiar with GIMP, but I would just like to show, what you can do with normal tools that don't depend as much on scripts, but just manual stuff. So this is the same image that's what Bob was showing. I just loaded the autosave.tiff, and I'll try to go through this in like 5 minutes if I can. I don't know. I'm not going to show the gradients all in detail, but just to get the idea. So first thing I want to do is I want to just crop. So let's say it's done with the rectangle select. So that's kind of straightforward. And you say image crop to selection. All right, now I want to make it a little larger, 25%. And all right. So the first thing I do in GIMP is kind of neat. Curves, you can do a whole lot with it. So here you see a histogram. You can look at different colors. So it's got value, which is overall RGB, but you can also look at red or green or all the individual channels. So you can also adjust them individually. So right now I'm just going for value. I want the background to be black. So you move this point over there. And then I want to stretch it a little bit. So first the low values and then so on. So, well, this sort of shows the gradient already coming up. So this is usually how I start. And if this looks sort of halfway right, then you can say, okay, save it. And I'll start working on the gradient. Or actually what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just do the saturation, because if you do the gradient first and then later on add the saturation again, then you have to start over again, sort of. I want to see some colors in the stars a little bit more.
Can I make a suggestion, Henk?
Yeah.
Go back to the curve you showed where you stretched it nonlinear.
Well, I'd have to back up because
If you can. Oh, you don't have a step back function in there?
Yes, I can, but then I'd have to redo it again.
Okay.
Is that, what is it that you would like to show?
On the upper right corner, you have the curve going in and landing in the corner, so that there's a curve, it reaches on the upper right, it reaches the corner. If you pull that dot down about half of the division there, and you keep it there, don't let it go up, you'll find that you don't have to resaturate your stars. That will prevent blowout of the stars, the saturation of the stars. And when you do that, because once you have that at the top and you stretch it, then some of the stars have become saturated, and once they're saturated, you cannot unsaturate them.
I'm not sure if that's true what you're saying. I don't think I'm deteriorating by leaving it here.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, you have to explain that to me. Some of the what I often do, you can stretch. This is for the low and the medium
Right.
signal. And if you want to so what I do sometimes I do this if I don't want to oversaturate but I don't want to pull it all the way down, because then the stars are also become less bright.
No, only that one point.
See, the thing is where you start saturating is if you do this. That's when you start blowing the stars out.
Well, that'll certainly do it
here. It's okay.
Yeah, you need to pull it down a little bit. It'll help you unsaturate or keep the colors.
Yeah, well,
direct from Tony Hallas. He calls it airspace.
Okay, so anyway, by leaving it here, there's not going to be any damage done. You will implement transformations by doing this and doing that, and you are correct that if you do this here, then you will blow out the stars, and you can tell right away that some of the parts are white. That's when you blow it out, but not so long as you here. And you can do this, but then you lose brightness in the stars as well. So it also won't do any damage, but I don't like to lose brightness either. So anyway, so let me go on then. So I would like to just show the idea of a gradient, and Bob can maybe comment on how this is done. First of all, the gradient is done in a separate window. So I've added a layer. This white rectangle shows that this is the one I'm working on, and that's what I'm looking at. They're actually identical. I just copied it. I just need a new layer, and copying was the easiest thing to do. So now I'm going to create a gradient. So let's see. I'm going to look up the gradient, and you see in the upper right is that reddish area, and you need the gradient to go perpendicular to that. So I'm going to draw it like this. Here, this is the initial point, and the color that it has says foreground. The foreground is black in my case. And then you have to select the color here. I want to do that by looking at the original image, and I want to click on the endpoint color, and so it's a color picker. and I'll click that, okay. And then I'm going to subtract this. So now I'm going to bring the layer back by clicking this I, and then subtract the layer that I have on top from the original. And so you can tell that it has actually removed the gradient to some extent. Now this is a bit of playing around. So I'm using actually, let's see here. So the gradient it's a linear gradient in this case. You can, choose different functions, but linear is the easiest to understand. You have some liberty here. You can move these things around. And actually, oh, I have two. Hold on. Yeah, I actually have two gradients in here. That was from this morning when I did this. Let me just change that here. I'm going to say, okay, delete that segment. I want to just work with a single one here. Okay, go back to this here. Color, foreground color. Okay, that's better. So this is a linear gradient, and you can sort of make it go more radical in the beginning, which means the first point that I clicked on, you see that a short area here, and there's a lot of subtraction there, or you can go that way. So you can shape the gradient this way to some extent. And if you click on the endpoint color, it also brings up something where you can vary the intensity. So you can say, okay, move more or less, and the color and so on. Or you can pick it again. Anyway, so this is sort of how it works. And at some point, you're probably happy. I'm not quite happy yet. Let me see. I want to get the reddish out of there. It takes a while to get it right, and I'm not sure if I want to spend the time tonight to do it perfectly. I can show you the end result that I am happy with.
What's the function? I missed the function, the pull down that you use to do that.
So you go to Tools, Paint Tools, and Gradient.
Oh, okay.
And that will bring this up. And so this window here has a whole bunch of gradients of all kinds. You can make it very complex. If you click on it, they're talking about right and left. Left is the first point you clicked on, and right is the second point you clicked on. So, and you can, make color selections. The blending function, I've taken a linear one, but you can do curved, sinusoidal, spherical, or whatever, stepwise, all kinds of things. And you can add segments. So if a single linear segment is not good enough, then you can do more. So let's say that we go with this as a first step. So then here you say, okay, new from visible, and then we have a new layer, and you can edit that again. So this is the idea. If you do that and you repeat it a couple of times, then you can get something, and I'm not going to spend all the time because I don't want to waste your time. Well, the best version that I got was this one here, and I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, so but it takes a while. I mean, you have to find the right colors and so on, the gradient and so on, and you have to repeat it a little bit, because you could tell, for instance, that in what I have now, to the lower right, there's a blue gradient, and you have to work on that, and then there's something left at the top, and so 3 or 4 gradients, and then you can get it all black, and then eventually, let's assume that we were done with this, and then you can go back to curves and say, okay, I want it to be a little bit darker, which it is not. So, like for instance, it's getting there, So altogether, this is a pretty straightforward way, I think, with basic tools instead of, I mean, with all respect to PixInsight, but all these menus with scripts that you don't know exactly what they do, that's kind of unsettling to me. I'd rather do things manually. So like this curves thing, they say that everything is basically based on curves. So also these other things like, okay, color temperature, or actually, what is it? Hue saturation, that's a nice one. Oh, color balance, actually. Things like this. So you can move the colors. It's fairly easy to use, but this is all based on the curves. So I think that's a pretty neat tool here. So you can,
The price is right too.
It is free.
I know.
And so yeah, And that's what I like. And so I'm beginning to be comfortable with this.
And
Anyway.
Henk, how much exposure time did you use for that?
Oh, this was an hour and a half, I believe, 90 exposures. And for M101, it's clearly not enough. You need to have at least 3 hours or so. And this is only a DSLR. So wasn't always also the best night. And yeah, I have to work on the guiding. So you can see the stars are fat. And it was a windy night, by the way. But still, I want to experiment with just the guider to see if I can get it down to 0.5 arc seconds RMS. And then I'll start adding loads. So
did you see that thing about Photoshop? They have a program that can double your resolution.
no, I haven't seen that.
So, you know, if you have a 4,000 by 4,000 pixel image, they can double that in each direction, evidently. And it comes out with, it gets some artificial intelligence. And I don't know if it'll work for astrophotography, but just wanted to put that out.
Okay.
That would just add bogus information, it seems to me.
Well, it's probably doing a calculation like surrounding pixels. So it's, you know, it's working something out of that, I would imagine.
So anyway, yeah, this is what I have to show, nothing more. But I hope you got a taste of GIMP. But it's really fairly easy to use once you know it. So it's kind of cool. You know, this window here with the layers. This lets you do pixel math. So for instance, here I just subtracted the first layer from the, well, I did it earlier. I was looking at this one. I subtracted the gradient from the original image, and that's just done with pixel math. But you can also do addition or multiplication and so on. So if you wanted to highlight a specific area, then you can do put a white area on top of it, you blur it with a Gaussian, and then you create a mask, then it's a mask, and you create the inverse mask, and then you multiply and just treat these things separately and so on. It's a lot of manual work, more than you like probably, but it lets you do all these things.
This is stuff I've been kind of like putting off learning how to do. I'll just try and brute forcing it.
Yeah, it took me a while to get to this point because it's like Photoshop as well. It's very similar to Photoshop, I think.
Yeah, if you just take a good image to start with, you wouldn't need to do this, right?
That's correct. But so my problem was that gradient. I mean, that's hard to disguise. You know, I always try things first in DSS, and that gets me 90% of the way. But you can really get better images with GIMP if it just has more options. It's nice that you can treat every color individually and so on with curves. Which you can do.
What you brought in, is this a JPEG or a FITS or a TIFF?
This is the internal format of, so yeah, there's an autosave to TIFF from the DSS.
That's a RAW?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then you can export it. It has its own format, but you can export it as whatever. I usually do TIFF or JPEG, but it has everything that you need.
This is probably not relevant, but that gradient you had looks a lot like what the Malin-Cam puts up, because the sensor is seeing the heat from the amplifier on the circuit board that's right next to that part of the sensor.
Yeah, amp glow, yeah.
It looks just like that.
Yeah.
That gradient that I had, you mean? Okay, so you mean this guy here?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it was really the image itself. This is the DSS version here.
What kind of camera are you using?
This was with a Fuji X-A1.
Okay.
And it should not cause this because I've never seen that happen with this camera. This is a camera that was modified by LifePixel, and I'm pretty sure it does not have this light leak. But I have to say, I didn't see this before they put the LED streetlights in. I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but there is one street light. It is around the corner, so I wouldn't think that it hits my scope. But
your camera is not a single lens reflex. It's a
mirrorless.
Mirrorless.
Mirrorless. That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
One thing I can show you, Henk, when I run PixInsight is if I do enough processing, I see that some of the images that were stacked were really, you know, like the pinwheel here is right at the top of the image, and the line starts to show up. So I'm thinking maybe if you just eliminate two, I don't know if I don't necessarily get rid of the gradient, but if you eliminate some of the images and you just use a set of better images, that might help. Because I mean, that's where you can see, you know, the black in the upper left corner and on the right and everything like that. But yeah, I try with mine now. I'm using PHE2, and this is sort of a side topic, but their latest copy of it does a multi-star tracking instead of a single star tracking, and it's a really nice feature. I think it's a much better tracking for the scope.
Have you taken other pictures with this camera that don't show that gradient, that are of equal length?
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Yeah, so that would eliminate the amplifier as a source.
Yeah.
Right. Let me think here. There's North American Nebula, I guess, 2015.
That amp glow is supposed to get eliminated by flats or one of the other files, though. Darks or flats, I think it's supposed to.
It should, yes. But it's a little bit variable with DSLRs. You know, there's no temperature control inside.
Yeah.
So the amp glow is going to depend on the temperature of the amp. And if you've been taking a lot of pictures and using it, it'll be warmer and it'll have a higher dark current.
Yeah.
The dark current goes exponentially with temperature.
That's not such a great one. Let's see here. Okay, why doesn't it show that? Okay, well, not the greatest. I haven't looked at these images in a long time.
Okay.
Why doesn't it show it? Looks like some of these are. All right, M13 perhaps. Let's see here. 20 M13 F. Well, it's not the greatest yet. That's obviously has some processing artifact. I've been playing around with. I'd have to look. I mean, I don't have anything. Well, that has obvious problems. No, that's not good. 2016 at the RTMC. Yeah, the processing is bad here.
No, it's not. Those are good pictures.
Yeah, this was taken at the RTMC at 7,000 feet. It's a little blue, and it wasn't stretched very well. And
those are blue stars.
The processing here is horrible, actually. I look at these things.
And you can see the galaxy behind M13.
Yeah.
So you know that the semiconductor that's your detector is silicon, of course, and the circuit board right next to it is also got silicon gates on it, diodes and transistors. And every one of those, when they have power going through it, is a light source. And for short exposures, like you usually do with DSLRs, you won't notice the very faint light that comes from them. But in our astronomical stuff that you do, and that's why every now and then both Nikon and Canon come out with an A version of their camera for astrophotography, which has extra baffles between the sensor element and the circuitry that's off to the side to prevent that amp glow, as Chuck calls it.
Okay.
In some of the early Canon cameras, it's really a problem. And in fact, in the 20D or 10D somewhere back there, Tony Hallas referred to that as the Green River, because you had this faint green band across the bottom of the picture.
Yeah, here I have a gradient as well. This was also not taken that long ago. That was in 2020.
But flat fields, you take a flat at the same time, same exposure as your subframe, and at the same temperature, that should get rid of it.
I have flats. Yeah, I always use flats. But well, the flats will not get rid of light gradients. It will, it will counter the effect of uneven lighting of the pixels because of the angle, and also dust motes. But if there's a gradient coming into the image, it will not do anything about that.
So I sent you all a set of view graphs to Tom. I don't know when it'll get to you because it's a big file and it's got to slowly get through it.
I'll look for it.
It's a talk from 2015 Advanced Imaging Conference by Tony Hallas, and it's called Going Deep. And it shows how to get those really faint nebulas out to show up the arms and dust lanes that come out of extended images. And it covers some of the ways of getting hue back in saturated stars, how to avoid that. The trouble with Tony Hallas's stuff is he frequently shows the charts, and you lose, unless you were taking notes, you lose a lot of the narrative because he doesn't record words on it. But there's still useful information on it, and you might like it.
Hey, Jerry, you can actually use the chat function. You can attach a file in the chat box.
Is there a limit on the size of it?
I don't know.
I'll try it.
Well, while that's happening, I have an announcement that probably only Charlotte, who it looks like she's left, would remember. But one of Javier's former assistants, who was also an AU member, is Samantha Thompson. And she left us to go work at Lowell Observatory. I'm wearing the shirt she gave me. And I just got an email from her yesterday, and she's finished her PhD, and she is now the curator of astronomy at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that'd be all about astronomy history?
That was what she was interested in, yeah.
It'd probably be, would there be like objects that she'd be looking for that belong to historical astronomy stuff?
Yeah, probably historical telescopes. I don't know if it includes the space exploration stuff. That's probably more the aviation and space area rather than strict astronomy. But, you know, I mean, they do have like a Hubble replica hanging up there. So things like that, I'd imagine. And documents.
So Bob, were you going to work on the gradient again?
Yeah, I'll just do it pretty quickly. I won't take too much time. Be fine. Share screen. Okay, so
living in Washington, D.C., but if I had a choice, I'd rather live in Santa Barbara.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, that position in Washington, D.C., it's nice to have that position.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But then you have to live in Washington, D.C. I mean,
You go where
And
the
you have to
job
watch
is.
out for those patriots wandering around.
I know. Well, yeah, for all kinds of things. I mean, it's really a bad neighborhood with all the police. It's just police sirens are going on and on in that city.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so I set this up again, and there are two ways to do this. There's this automatic background extractor, and supposedly the better one is this dynamic background because you have more control over it. And you set up how it's sampling. It sets up a thing. I was just looking today. The defaults are a lot lower this for the radius size for the boxes it's using. So I think kind of with the way Hank was doing it too, this may not turn out perfect here, but you know, it's a trial and error thing. But so let's see what we got here.
How did you get all these crosses on there? Does it do that automatically?
No, well, it does. I don't want to click this generate now because it's going to repopulate the whole thing.
Okay.
But you put up the samples per row and the radius per sample here. Once they're up, you know, you don't want any of them, as I was saying before, over a star, you know, a big star.
Yeah. Okay.
They're over a little bit, that it's good. But it's wanting to do it in this direction here. So I'm going to let it do its thing. That, you know, it didn't set any up here where the gradient is.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of surprising. You would expect it to be some of their up there, right?
Yeah, and initially when I did it before, I was doing that. But anyway, I'm just going to try to go with this and see what it does.
Yeah, it seems like it's actually avoiding the area where the problem is.
Yeah.
Well, what it's doing though is the reason you don't want to have a star in there because it's gonna change. It's saying that's, you know, I want to modify that and well, I'm not using the right thing. I think it's taking all of these as samples of the background, you know, more that you want. But I don't know. I'm still
presumably, yeah, probably it takes the median of whatever's in that square. That way, even if you have, you know, one or two bright stars, they're not going to affect the median. It's going to pick up that whatever the background blackness is. It's trying to get a black level or whatever the.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't want to do this with a big nebula.
Well, no, you can too. You can with that, and well, that's a whole separate thing. But anyway, what's cool about this when you run this, And yes, it's running something in the background that you don't know exactly what it is. You can look the algorithms up, but I mean, what I like about it is and I stretch this is, so you can see here's a gradient it's removing. Well, it's all orange up in the upper left corner and green, and that's what I want to remove. So I'm doing division. It's like I can sit there and fiddle with things for a long time, but I'd rather like automate things and go through it. So now it looks like it didn't do that much here, but what you do is you can reapply this with a subtraction. And again, this may not end up perfect, but it's more of an example. I was able to get this, better than it is now. kind of like, I mean, you're making good progress with yours there, Hank. Oh no, it turned it the other way around here. So anyway, it's if you play with this a little bit, I think you can come up with, better results. But I'll show you what I was able to do with this, and I learned, minimize this guy. I'm going to reopen the image that Hank had sent to me. And even with this automatic background extraction, all these things are just minimized images that are on the surface here. So let's stretch this. So here's this one again. I've got to redo this dynamic crop. It's going to do that to me again. Okay, I'm just going to, let's do this then. Let's just open up one that I already have here. Let's open this one and apply. Sorry, we'll apply the auto save to this. Now for this one, all I'm going to adjust is that I'm going to do, say, a subtraction to it. I'm going to leave all the other values default the same.
Is this still gradient removal? What is it that you do?
Yeah, it's an automatic background extractor, they call it. But yeah, it's supposed to work with the gradients. So now you see it's removing this guy down here.
So how is it working with the previous feature that you did, or is this something totally separate?
Well, it's a separate function. It's supposed to be automated, so you don't have to set up all those boxes and everything. Okay. It just does it. It figures out where to put things. But what's interesting here is if you look at this, this is where I started to see that sort of stacking artifact here, where I see that line across there, and I had a subtraction. And again,
yeah, okay, yeah.
So I was thinking, maybe if you just, only pick your images where this is a little bit more centered, that might help too. It's sort of a secondary thing than the.
But it's also kind of bad because that is kind of overstretched what you're showing there in a weird way. I mean, I don't know what it is, but
this is not the final stretch. This is not the final stretch of the thing. So, you go, oh, I don't like that. You go, okay, well, they're gone. This is still linear. This is not changing the image. And you can unlink the colors here too, so that it'll do it variable by color here. But
okay, but where's this going? I mean, it looks kind of horrible right now.
What I'm saying is the same thing where you were working yours and it wasn't a finished product. I'm saying I can do this. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I can apply these successively, and probably some of these things here where with this deviation unbalance, these things could be adjusted tolerance to a level that works for your particular image, and so in other words, it takes a little bit of time, but I think once you get to know the software and how to work with it, you can see, I mean, from originally where it was, really bad in the corner there, it's improved. I got a little bit down here, kind of like what you had, but these other artifacts of the images start to show up. And then that, that's a little bit harder to fix. But I mean, some of these things, like what I was saying, you can, it's more of hiding it, I guess. If you open this guy and you say, here's this, I'm going to apply it to here. There's that. And now I'm going to, oh, I'm sorry, got to turn the preview on. Preview is otherwise the ones there, you don't know what's happening as you do it. This one is recalculating as you go. So I don't know, I just think this is kind of a neat feature. Now that's, you can make it disappear if you want, but you can get it to the degree. I mean, all of this is really like sort of an artistic thing to our own eye of what looks good.
This particular frame.
It's what?
You've got some nice faint detail Knight's,
Yeah,
yeah, stuff in there. That's basically a very good picture. The gradient is just not that hard to get rid of. I wouldn't worry about it so much.
yeah. I was just demonstrating for, how to deal with it, and we're doing a GIMP versus the other, and GIMP is pretty impressive. For me, it's like, I just like, I was even thinking for some of these things, of looking at code and writing my own code for some of these, and that's what people have done, especially with these scripts. I mean, there's a thing for not image analysis, but for like color. No, I think it's under here. There's a thing where you go to a database and it looks up what the color should be for the object you're looking at, and that's, to me, that's kind of
that's an old fight in image processing, because what the color should be is a hot debate topic.
Right.
Yeah, and you can load from different libraries of what they say that the image should be, and I'll look.
Ever tried Maxim DL?
Say again,
Bob?
Yeah.
If you've ever tried Maxim DL, you can go through a picture like that has a gradient, and you just put a bunch of points around the edge and in the corners and all across the place, avoiding nebulosity and avoiding stars. And then you hit one button and the gradient, no matter how complex it is gone. It's super easy.
Yeah. So anyway, I forget where that is, but there's a color management. I was playing it with the other thing, and it's and actually what's so cool about it too, and I'll just describe it because I can't find it right now and I don't waste too much time, but you say, here's my image, and you click on it, you go, instead of giving the RA deck of where it is, you go, well, just plate solve this and find out where this image is. It plate solves it, and then it goes, oh, this is this. This is NGC, whatever, mine was 3628, this is M101. And then you go to a library and they have, multiple around the world, and it says, okay, the color is this, and you can play with those of, whichever one you want. And I just thought, well, that's pretty amazing, So anyway, those are features that I think in this, and the thing is, this is constantly in flux because there are people contributing to this. It was started, I think, in 2013, I think, when this first came out. The guy in Spain had written the code. So anyway, there's, I guess I could have memorized the steps that work perfectly with this, but you get the idea. The same was, when you were doing yours, Hank, with yours of the different functions that you apply to it. What I like about this is that these were designed specifically for astrophotography, and I think that's, I don't know, kind of a useful thing. So.
Well, what I don't like about PixInsight is that it makes me feel like I'm a programmer if I see all these menus and numbers you have to add. If I use GIMP, I deal directly with the colors, with color curves and so on. I feel more like an artist than when I see this here. It's like it has to be totally computerized. And the idea of comparing your images with a database is kind of awful. You might as well download the Hubble images right away if that's what you want to do.
Well, no, I mean, you still shot the frames.
I get it. I get it. But I just don't like it.
Okay, well, potato.
I am interested in better, good, useful features like the gradient removal. I sort of know how to do it, but it's kind of, you have to do work in GIMP. But it has some other good points like these color curves. I think that's really appealing to me. And,
Hank or anyone, have you used CCD Stack?
Yeah, that's my main program.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Yeah.
It's pretty, I think it's pretty intuitive. I mean.
Yeah, and it has a help system that just pours out conversational information on what it means, what you're doing algorithmically, and how to handle it. I think it's a great tool, especially for starting. I use CCD Stack too.
Yeah, and so I'll just show, save time for later, image that I did a week ago, and I haven't finished processing, but it's that M78 one I was talking about. Oh, just got covered up. And I really haven't worked on the noise, but I was able to get all the stuff in the way.
Where can I find CCD spec? Because I see something about spectrometers. Is that what it is?
No, it's by a company called CCDware.
CCDware, okay.
It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's an old program.
I just wound up getting a new program.
Are you leaving, Chuck?
Yeah, you're right. It's CCDware.
Yeah, I got to go. I got 2 occultations to set up for, and it looks like clouds are on the way for tomorrow. So
Yes.
Okay.
hitting the eject button. Bye, everybody. Have fun.
Nice
Bye,
to
Chuck.
see you. Bye.
You check.
Right. Oh, it's not a free program. I see. You have to pay for it. Okay.
Yeah, when I bought it, it was 200.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Well, then I'd have to choose. I mean, if I'd buy something, it would probably be PixInsight.
I thought you hated it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know it's also powerful, but I do dislike all these menus, and so I mean, it looks like a bunch of scripts that many people cobble together.
Well, it is basically. It is.
Yeah, it looks a bit messy, but anyway, it's. I
But
know
in
it's
my mind, it's something where you don't have to use everything. You know, you just pick and choose.
yeah,
what you want.
but everybody's complaining about the learning curve that you have to go through with PixInsight, and it's no surprise why that's the case. I mean,
I was looking at an old video in early December, and when I first mentioned it, Jerry said it's easy. So just talk to Jerry. He says it's easy.
that's very rare that somebody says it's easy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I thought too, but it's amazing just how many good videos there are on YouTube for these things. That
Yes, there are. And it's like everything else. If you don't know how to use it, it's hard. And if you do know how to use it, it's easy.
yeah.
And there's more than one way to do something.
Yes.
If you look at the videos with Christopher Go or for planetary stuff and somebody else, they go through a completely different scheme of things.
So Jerry, can you do you want to show your charts? I couldn't download it, or it didn't show up on the browser when I opened up that
Well, I
link
was
that you sent.
thinking it's quite lengthy, and I don't have the narrative that goes with it. So I think it would be more useful to everybody if they could just leaf through it themselves at their leisure and glean whatever they can out of it.
Okay.
So I'll try another way of getting it to you.
Okay.
It's 106 charts, and I guess only what, 6 of them made it?
Yeah, couldn't load the other pages.
Okay.
I'll in the chat box. I'll put the link there.
Okay.
And hopefully people can see it. Take a look at your chat box, and you see the link that Jerry's trying to show me, send me. It's a 106-page PDF file.
Says you need to request access.
If you click on the link.
Okay, there, I got it.
I only see the first page from your, yeah. Well, let's see if I can find it again.
I want to make a suggestion to folks when you send astrophotography pictures on the emails. I see some of the emails get up to 15 megabytes or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, do you guys have, Bob and Hank, do you have any like a Flickr account or a Google photo account that you could start dumping your things into, and then you could just use the link from those accounts to put in the emails, and that would keep the email size.
Yeah, or
down. Be a little inconvenient.
Dropbox.
Yeah, something like that where people could get to it that way,
Or
instead of being big emails. But
yeah, it got a little out of hand, I guess, in the last week. So
yeah.
you get multiple photos.
I always make the images smaller before I send them. I guess Outlook does it itself as
Well,
well.
see, this way, if
Yeah.
you use the, Dropbox or Google or Flickr,
Yeah.
Flickr has like a free account. Well, it used to be free for 1 terabyte. I don't know if they still do that. I think
Right.
maybe they didn't took that away. But
Yeah.
you dump it in there full size, pretty much, and then people can see it. So I'm not sure what other systems you can do that with. What other?
Yeah. Okay, I will do that. It's email is just a convenience, because if I post something on OneDrive, then I first have to open OneDrive, so I have to find the link, then move it on there, and then you have to give permission, and you have to go to
Yeah.
share, copy link, and all that. It's a lot more work than just say copy and paste into the email. That's why I do it. But I
Yeah.
will get better about this.
Speaking of large images, I discovered the site I just put in the chat link there, hubblesite.org. You
Yeah.
can download all these Hubble, you guys probably know about it, Hubble images, and process them yourself if you want. They're like a couple hundred megabytes each, but and it has a little search function. So I thought it was kind of a cool thing.
I was wondering about how do people get the raw images from like Hubble? I guess it's an FITS file.
Yes.
And then what programs do they use to process those themselves?
Well, they use
Image, Jerry.
programs. You guys use PixInsight, CCD Stack, Photoshop, but there's a free computer program available from NASA called FITS Extractor, and that's how or FITS Liberator, and that's how you get the picture off of the NASA site.
Does it make it smaller or something, or?
I forget whether it does, but it makes it so you can handle it on your typical home computer.
Yeah. I think they have FITS viewers too.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't have, FITS extractors may not be the main one anymore. This was about 10 years ago I used it.
Well, they do show the FITS Liberator. So it's
FITS Liberator, yeah.
and
Yeah, somewhere on YouTube, there's a video of the official guy who's doing the Hubble image processing, which is kind of interesting of how he processes those. So
if you'll give me the ability to share, I'll scroll very fast through the part of the 106 pictures, and then I'll work on sending it to Tom so he can send it around to everybody.
again, Jerry, it's just a link. It's to your Google Drive. So if you put that in the chat box, you can put that link, which I think I already did.
I've tried several ways of getting it in the chat box, and I can't get it in there.
yeah, when I click on that, it says you need to request access. So that link is not a public, it hasn't been a shared public link. So.
Yeah, you may have a cookie or something on your computer that allows you to access it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it said it will send a request, and it will send you an email when it's approved. I didn't get an email. I clicked on it, but
Yeah, but I think you can, with Google Drive, you can just say this one file, make it shareable to public, and then you send the public link. So
Right.
I mean, that's what he needs to do.
Yeah, my Firefox browser is trying to open it. Well, you're using a PDF opener, and it's just missing pages. It opens up 6 or 8 or.
Do a PDF reader, not opener.
Well, I tried to put it into a PDF reader. Like, there's another way to go. Now it's downloading more pages. So I'm showing it's working a little bit better now for some reason.
Okay.
And if you want me to show it, I can.
Well, I was thinking more you could just pass it around to everybody and they could look at it in their privacy. But you can look around it if you want.
So in the chat box, that link that I put in there, I would think it works. It would work.
Yeah,
It says to request a link and an email will be coming.
How big is the file?
It's probably pretty big, but
250 megs or something.
Oh yeah, there's a
Oh.
limit. There's an email limit of 25 megs. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I put it in one of these Dropbox things.
yeah, no. Yeah. But he's saying why not just email to everybody, so you can't email a file directly. So
Okay. Yeah.
but the link is working for me.
Okay.
Now it's working, Jerry.
not working for me.
Like if I share, I can share what I've got here, show you what I'm getting.
Okay.
Jerry.
Oh, well, now I've got a few pages. Yep.
And
Oh, yeah, I've got the whole thing from that link.
I just get access denied. You need.
I got the
Yeah, you
same,
need
yeah,
it-
access
you need
denied.
You need to request a
Jerry, do you want me to go to a certain page?
Well, the page that I think everybody would be most interested is oh, where is it? Color noise, noise reduction. Getting close here.
And there you
I don't know which page it is, but oh, page 27.
go. Okay, hold on. I got a PDF viewer that I opened it up in and see if I can. Hopefully this is it. We'll check. And page 25,
27.
27.
Should be a blue field with yellow letters on it, yellow words.
Did you get that?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. That's good. Okay, now scroll down one. Okay, next. Okay, next. Signal to noise is the square root of the number of frames used. Next.
Good old co-adding.
Yeah, so he's showing examples now of stacking frames of 4 up to 64, and the signal noise gain is 2 to 8. So, and you see the advantage between each two is very small. Go down to the next one. This is the noise in combined images. And of course, he means spatial noise, not real noise. But you see that down around 25 frames, you're essentially on the flat. So adding anything over about 25 frames is a waste of your time. So go down more. Okay, that's the essence. Okay, next.
For any image?
For any image, yeah. No,
He's
go
just
down
saying
more.
you're getting to the point of diminishing returns.
Exactly, exactly.
But then isn't it a
As many
function
as you
of time
want.
though? It's a function of time per image, right?
What's that?
I mean, so you had 1 second images, 25 seconds. It's like obviously you need more than 25 seconds to
It's more
photograph
to your
something.
advantage to take pictures as long as possible and then stack them.
Right, right. But I'm saying it's a function of time of photons gathered somehow too. So
Yeah, usually the duration of each of your subs, you want to kind of choose that based on, how stable your mount is and what, how
yeah.
How close you are to the airport, how many planes fly over.
exactly.
Okay,
How many
next
satellites Elon Musk has launched.
That's what I was thinking too. And even if you have a really good stable mount, one guy in this one video said, if you've got, I don't know, 5 or 10 minute sub and something goes through it, you wasted a lot of time. You got to throw that out.
No, you don't. No, absolutely not.
Well, okay, you don't. But I'm saying, you shine a flashlight in your telescope. Okay, you do have to throw it. There are some images you have to throw out, and a single image may be a big thing you got to throw out.
Go down the next picture. Okay, next. I don't remember what he's doing there. Okay, dark experiment. Well, anyway, you can go through the whole thing. And he talks about color saturation, how to get color back. He does real well with color. The point I want to make is that I'm sharing this with you. It's a proceedings from a series of conferences I went to, and it's copyright. So please don't share it outside of this group. I'm cheating a bit by letting you all have it, but I think it's so interesting. And I have some more that I'll send you too for this stuff, for presentations various people did.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'll stop that share.
Okay.
Hey, before we go on, and I know we're running out of time here. Look online if you guys haven't heard. I thought it was the latest COVID bill. It was the previous one, but there's a 180-day time limit that Congress gave to national intelligence to reveal everything they have on UFOs. And that's going to come due in June. And so that should be interesting. I just thought I'd throw that out there. The national intelligence is supposed to reveal everything they know about UFOs, the tic tac. Maybe this goes back to Roswell. I don't know, but that would be, they're probably going to do nothing, but we'll
By
see.
definition, they know nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought they should give them a 6-month or a 1-year amnesty. Say anybody who comes forward will not be prosecuted. If you go past the deadline and something is found out, you will be prosecuted up to the full extent of the law, and then see what comes out. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. It was pretty interesting. Of all things, that's in the COVID bill.
The one big unknown is that guy, Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
Talked to him.
Good
Mike
old Bob.
personally, he's worked with him.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes, when he was a test engineer at Schlumberger Memory Test Systems in Simi Valley, of all places, and he attended. He had a house in North Park College. I double dated with him, and I knew him.
He seems like a nice guy. I don't know. I've heard him
He
talk.
is. He's one of these interesting fellows. He came in one morning saying, "Gallium, got to get some gallium." And so I asked him why, and he says, "Well, because I need to go and heat up my what do they call it? Metal hydrides for his hydrogen-powered car." He was driving a hydrogen-powered 350 Pontiac GT back in the 80s off of hydrogen. And so he was going through the different systems, and he was going to go and put the gallium in with the water and heat it up through the engine to go to the metal hydrides. But he gave up on that and went to electric heaters and some safety systems. And the first time he actually experimented with hydrogen was on his parents' car, and he blew it up. And
But he apparently met Edward Teller because he had a jet car. He attached a jet to the back of this thing, and he was in the local paper.
well,
That's how he got the
let me tell you. Okay, him and Carol went to that place. Okay, you guys are probably hearing stuff that nobody's heard before. He went on the interview. He came back, and he was all aglow and saying, "Hey, I met Edward Teller," and they gave him the tour. And what's this? And he goes, "Yeah, and what's this?" And they said, "We got to hire this guy. He knows so much," according to him. But the reason why we knew he was back was the whole building shook because he decided to turn on the rocket-powered engine on his Honda Civic.
Yeah.
And we all go out there, and there's this 40-foot.
Is he an exaggerator or is he truthful? I get it.
Let me just say that he did a lot. Okay, now what is true and what isn't? I knew him when he was starting out as a test engineer. Actually started out as a test technician, and our mini computers kept crapping out at night, and we found out that he was learning how to program on the mini computers and breaking the software. And so Artie said, "Well, if we can't beat him, have him join us." And was one hell of a test engineer and did a lot of things. But he was pretty knowledgeable. He did quite a bit of stuff. His cars worked. He supposedly had a.
You're not answering the question, Mike.
Exaggerating. You couldn't tell if he was exaggerating because there was enough truth behind whatever he said that At least part of it's believable. You know, it's really hard to tell the percentage wise, but
Okay.
what he did, we were all impressed. Okay. You know, rocket powered car and a Honda Civic, you know, other things that he did that he did. And every so often, you know, after the place laid off just about everybody and people get together, you know, it's sort of like, well, have you heard the latest of Bob, you know? And after he went to Arizona, we kind of lost touch. He fell off the radar. He came back once or twice, and that was it.
Okay.
You ought to
He
invite him
did.
to the
He
Zoom
did
meeting.
say that he bought a
Meeting.
Bordello. So Carol was there going, yeah, he did.
Invite him for next Tuesday. You could give a presentation.
I don't think he wants to talk about anything anymore. And
No, he probably doesn't.
And you know, it's amazing that nobody can track things back and forth. You know, because there's plenty of people in the room, and so you know, there's a whole cottage industry of deniable.
Mike, your voice is a little dull coming through.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's because the person talking about it. You know, there's a cottage industry of all these conspiracies. So, you know, it's easy to say, you know. Anyways, I do have something else to show or talk about.
Good, good.
What I have here is my
your bath interferometer sensor.
Yeah, I got it in. So I've got to go put it together and get back on. Yes. And also I have a picture that's getting put in a calendar, the VCAS calendar.
I can barely hear you. Sorry.
The VCAS calendar. Here I can show it to you. Okay, hold a second. Oops. Of course, I don't have share yet. Let me go to a share screen.
Well, I'm running out of steam for tonight. I think I'm going to leave.
Okay, that's my last, one of my last pictures of the.
Nice picture.
Yeah, that's the transit of Venus as it was dipping below the horizon at the Vandenberg Air Force Base, the site, the train station on the beach.
It's surf, yeah.
Yep. Okay, I'm done.
See you all. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Any other final comments from anybody? We'll meet
Mike,
again next week.
Mike, were you able to get the Raspberry Pi working, VNC and that kind of stuff?
No, I was too busy with other projects. You know, I started looking at the program more. I just need to learn more about VNCs and all that. I guess I can do a VNC between it and another between the Raspberry Pi and the computer itself. I just, you know, I'm a neophyte when it comes to that. So
okay.
Hey, Mike, I just did this a couple of days ago, so I'll send you an email during the week because I had a little trouble, but I got Astroberry installed and I got VNC to work, and it was a little tricky, but got that working. And we missed, I got to say, we missed Rob Matson. He was going to do a little demo on binning for CCDs and CMOS. So maybe we can do that next week or something.
Okay.
Well, I didn't have any charts for that. It was only going to be if it was something to talk about. I could actually make some charts for that. What I could show you was my first astrophotograph. It was also Horsehead. It was done on the 32-inch Shulman telescope in I guess it's Arizona, or yeah, it's Arizona. So it's just 5 exposures of 3 minutes each in red, blue, green, and luminosity. And I thought it turned out pretty well for someone who'd never done anything before. And that I used that piece of software we were talking about earlier. Drawing a blank on the name of it. Hank would remember. CCD stack.
Or CCDware or whatever.
CCDware.
So I could show you that image if you want.
That'd be great.
So I just hit do I hit the green share screen button?
Yeah.
Share, and then you got to select it from your desktop.
Yeah, I've got it already preloaded.
Okay. Wow.
Let's see. I see Bob. If I do this, I'm clearly a novice at this.
So you look for the window with your image in it. So Zoom should be showing you all these different windows that you can share.
Let's see. Oh, there's a button that says show all windows. There we go. That's the one that's missing. You see that?
There we go. Yeah.
All right. So the thing that was interesting about this shot was 2 things. One, you can see the donuts that are obviously from dust specks that didn't get taken out by the flats or the darks that they took. I don't know if it was because there was too much time between when they took the darks and the flats and when they ran my my job, but overall I thought it turned out pretty good. What was interesting was that I had enough images that over in this area, I don't know if I don't know if you see my cursor when I do this.
Yes.
There was an asteroid, and so I was able to take the frames, and I had, they were separated enough in time that I could see the movement, and then submit it. So let me pull up that.
And you sure it was an asteroid, not a satellite, huh?
Yes, it was an asteroid because it was submitted, and then I found it on a subsequent night. Let me see if I can.
Is this 32-inch telescope? Is this at Mount Lemmon?
Yes, it is. Oh, here we go. So open this up. So here I'm stacking in the direction of the asteroid's movement, and you can see this very dim dot.
Wow.
Once you stack in that direction. Now, when you just blink through the luminosity images, there were 5 of them, so it was pretty easy to pick out this moving object. But anyway, it was enough. I got enough images that I could recover it the following night. Oh, in fact, you can see that there are my you can tell the direction of motion of my stacking. That's obviously a hot pixel that's moving along, but obviously the target itself is not.
Is there another asteroid above it, a brighter one?
Above it.
Go up about.
Oh, this
At the
thing?
1 o'clock position.
Yeah.
There may be a known asteroid in this image that wouldn't surprise me, like this guy right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a known object that's moving. Since this was a main belt asteroid, all the main belt objects that are in this part of the sky are going to be moving at about the same angular rate. So stacking on one of these guys is going to bring up another one. So this is pretty bright. That's probably, I don't know, 17th magnitude. This one was more like magnitude 19.5.
So you stacked on purpose on an asteroid?
Not while I was taking the exposures. I was purely doing an astrophotograph, and I just happened to discover an asteroid that was in this frame. So these images were from late 2014. That's why the designation. So it hasn't been recovered yet. It's fairly dim, so it hasn't been picked up by the big surveys, or it hasn't been linked yet. So it's still just sitting there kind of in hiatus.
What do you mean it hasn't been picked up?
because it was only a 2-night object, it's the uncertainty of its location in the sky after a week or two was so great that, you know, it's basically lost until it's picked up again serendipitously by a survey that's looking in the right direction, and then they are able to link back to these original observations.
That's interesting.
You know, and the only other, yeah, so I was going to point out the, you know, these donuts are something you guys were talking about earlier. That's, yeah, definitely dust on the camera that does that. The only other image I took was from a different telescope up in California. It's a 24-inch, and I did 2 hours on it. It's just M81.
Very nice.
And
Yeah.
there's still some weird little artifacts. You can see some color weirdities going on here where you got some blue and green and red dots. But for the most part, you know, like the stars are fairly circular. So the tracking was fairly decent. I think you just need more time to pick up, you know, a good image with the dust veins and everything of M81.
Do you know the cameras that were being used?
Oh boy, not off the top of my head. These images were long enough ago that it's not new technology. I think in both cases it was a CCD rather than CMOS. But yeah, I'm gonna have to look and see what camera they had in place at the time these images were taken. Actually, the M81 one is from the G68 camera in California. So that has not changed. So I'll be able to figure out what cameras on that instrument. I even have some notes on that. Anyway, I didn't want to take up a lot of time. Just wanted to show you that I dabbled in this. I was mostly interested in asteroid discovery and recovery, but decided to do a little bit of astrophotography for fun. And now I'm kind of interested in continuing doing that with my own instrument.
So what did it cost to rent the time on the scopes? Do you remember?
It's like $160 an hour on a big 32-inch. The Horsehead, that's the Shulman is a 32-inch Ritchie-Accretion, pretty expensive setup. Really looks quite gigantic in the dome they've got it set up in. Pretty nice camera. Adam Block, who's a pretty well-known astrophotographer, used that instrument, actually on the facility quite a bit to generate some pretty nice pictures. I think I sent one to Bob a little while ago of Thor's helmet.
For the flats and darks, since they could have a library of those things, do you have to pay for the time on those, or can they just?
No, that's kind of the nice thing about the way they set up the pay to use telescope. You don't pay for the flats, you don't pay for the darks, you only pay for the exposure time of your images. But you have to be careful about choosing an exposure time for which they took flats. So you don't want to do some weird, it's like a 200 second. They have standard ones, they do a 30, a 60, a 120, a 150, 180, and you just make sure that you choose an exposure that's in their repertoire that they do.
Yeah. And did you difference images to find the asteroid? Is that how you first were detecting it, or?
Say again?
Were you differencing images to find that? That's like pretty subtle.
Yeah. I was, I just had them in ImageJ, or I probably brought them into Astrometrica, and I was just cycling through the images in case there was anything moving in there. And of course I saw, multiple objects. This is a pretty wide field of view. But then you say, all right, well, show me all the known objects, and this one was an outlier. So I said, all right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, aren't there plate solver? Can't you use a plate solver to find the known objects?
That's what Astrometrica does.
Yeah.
So I have to register every frame in order to collect the astrometry of the object, because I have to submit formal positions for each of the frames, and and exact times that each image was taken. Typically, when I've done that, I've only taken 4, but in this case, it was an astrophotograph, and I had quite a few frames to work with. The asteroid's too dim to be picked up in the blue or the green, but it was pretty good in obviously luminosity, and the red filter. The CCD was more responsive there. Plus, asteroids are generally reddish objects.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're after 9 o'clock now, so I guess we can call it quits for today and take it up again next Tuesday. And hopefully Dick Bean will come in and show us what he did with those photos he sent out to us. So that should be interesting. So
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Hank, for talking about GIMP. Appreciate that.
yeah, good comparison about GIMP and Pix
And Bob,
Insight on how
yeah,
gradients
Bob,
are
both of
handled
you.
there.
And you resisted the temptation to say, "Bring out the GIMP."
Here's my cat on a mouse there, computer mouse.
No,
Oops.
we end as we started, with a cat on the keyboard.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, see you guys next week.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Yeah.